Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and it's time for your weekly dose of buy, sell, keep, avoid. This time for game week 26, we're going to have a look at some of the transfer moves that maybe we should be making and shouldn't be making. So if you do enjoy this one, please do drop a like. It really does help out the channel, and do subscribe if you are new around here. But without further ado, guys, let's have a look at the rules of the video. Okay, so buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. Sells are players you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are players you might be thinking of removing but I think you should keep them. And avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now. I think they are potential traps that maybe, just maybe, we should actually avoid these players. 2 players in each category, guys. Let's start off with some buys. Alright, so our first buy is going to be Ivan Toney. Nice and easy there. A forward with 2 double game weeks in the next 4. That is very nice indeed. And a home game against Fulham here as well. It looks like game week 28 is going to be a blank, but there is still a small chance that he does get a fixture in game week 28. I wouldn't hold out hope for that one though. We will get more information as this week progresses, and we'll keep updating you guys, of course, on what the situation is with blanks and doubles as well. But certainly the 27 and 29 double game week fixtures look really good for Brentford. Yes, they are away fixtures, but if you look at the kind of fixtures they are here, we've got Everton and Southampton, pretty decent fixtures, and we have got that Brighton fixture in 29 as well, which I don't think is the worst in the world if you are a forward player. We've got Fulham at home as well. Fulham have dropped in their numbers just a little bit defensively, so I do think that is a defence that could potentially be exploited a little bit, and we do like the fact that Toney is definitely the talisman of Brentford. It does seem that whenever Brentford score, it's likely that Toney is going to be involved in that. The fact that he's on penalties as well really does help. He has been slightly underperforming on his numbers recently, but we do expect him to get back to business very soon because we know he's a very good football player. So looking forward to seeing what Toney can produce. I think it's going to be very, very difficult to live life without Toney in your team throughout the game week 27 to 29 period. Definitely a player you do want to have in your team. Maybe you could go 1 week early in 26 if you've got the right kind of forward to remove for Toney. I definitely would be doing that. The likes of Darwin Nunez, Mitrovic maybe, if you've got another forward that you're not totally happy with, a simple move to Toney makes a lot of sense for a lot of people, so I would be making that move. Let's go to the next buy. Alright, so those of you who sold Rashford, make sure you buy him back. I cannot stress enough how important this player is to FPL. Would you sell Erling Haaland? No, you would not. Would you go without Rashford? He should be in the same category now. I do think he is that important for us right now. And we've got this fixture against Liverpool, and I know on the FPL website it's going to list Liverpool as a difficult fixture. And if Rashford was a Man United defender, you know, if we're talking about a Luke Shaw, for example, then maybe we don't need that kind of player for game week 26. But for those Man United attackers, particularly one in as great form as Rashford is, you do really fancy him against the Liverpool defence that is just really not doing the business right now. They are conceding a lot of chances, really, aren't they? Even in games where they've kept clean sheets, actually, when you actually watch the games, they could have conceded a few more chances. There's been a lot of mistakes in that Liverpool defence recently, and Rashford matching up against that right-hand side of the Liverpool defence, which has been struggling a lot of times recently. We've kind of got that triangle slash square, I guess, of Fabinho, Henderson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and then Matip or Gomez, depending on who's playing there. That does seem to be a real weak spot for Liverpool. So if we're talking about matchups, I do think we need to consider matchups in FPL. Rashford is definitely one who really could take advantage of this, and again, it sounds wrong to say this, and I know Liverpool fans will be saying, hey, come on, this is a big derby game. Everyone's going to be up for it. Maybe we could get an unexpected results here, and that's fair enough, but in FPL, we kind of have to go on odds, what's likely to happen, go off what we've seen so far. And certainly in this game, Marcus Rashford, we've been captaining him recently. He's been getting some great scores recently. And in this exact situation, I think genuinely Rashford is a serious contender for your captain's armband this week as well. So if you did sell Rashford over the blank game week in 25, really would recommend that he's the first player you buy back into your team. He's just too good right now, isn't he? He's just absolutely insane. We have got that double game week in 29 as well. That Southampton game at home. He's just going to be an essential player to own. Like, I don't think that's too controversial to say that, but we will have some more controversial shouts a bit later on in the video. Okay, first up is Mitrovic. Already mentioned that maybe Mitrovic to Tony could be a decent transfer move to make. Mitrovic's numbers have just been down recently. Fulham's numbers in general, they've been down as well, even when Mitrovic has been playing, just because, you know, Fulham have just turned into a slightly more defensive team recently. They're not creating as much. They're not getting as many chances to score. And a lot of Mitrovic's attacking opportunities since the World Cup break, I guess, have actually been through penalties. So we've not really seen too much of him from open play recently. And an away fixture against Brentford, who have kind of proved themselves to be quite a tough defence in more recent weeks. That's going to be a kind of a tough one for them. Then Arsenal at home, again, another tough fixture. In game week 28, it's looking quite likely that there's not going to be a fixture for Fulham in game week 28. That's going to depend on the Fulham versus Leeds result. If Fulham beat Leeds in the FA Cup, that's going to mean that the Fulham do indeed blank in game week 28, which means the Liverpool fixture will be off. Maybe by the time you watch this video, we will already have seen the result of that, but certainly I'm recording this before that game has happened. So, yeah, basically, he's just a player who is not getting many attacking returns. There's so many great forwards to own right now. Erling Haaland, Kane, Tony, they're the big three. But we've also got players like Watkins, maybe João Felix. I know some people are talking about him. Brian Mbeumo was a bit of a differential there. So there's some different players, and Mitrovic is kind of quite low down on the list of forwards we'd like to own right now. And considering his injury problems that he's had recently as well, you just get the idea that, yeah, maybe time to move on from him. So that is what I would be recommending for game week 26. Another sell is Cody Gakpo. So yeah, Gakpo's got this difficult fixture against Manchester United, have been one of the strongest defences in recent game weeks. They really are a top team at the moment, Manchester United. And Gakpo, I know a lot of people went for him for the double game week. Didn't pay off in the first game. We're yet to see what's going to happen in the second game. But hey, maybe it does come off. But what does really worry me is the fact that he is being substituted off, and there seems to be a lot of players who are kind of wanting to play in a similar position to him. So yeah, Gakpo is currently playing through the middle of the Liverpool attack, and it does feel like Jota and Firmino are going to be players who do take his place at some point in the very near future. Whether that's going to be in the Manchester United game, I'm not 100% sure, but by the time we get to the Bournemouth game, which is actually the nice fixture, and then the double game week in 29, I think it's going to be bye-bye Gakpo by then. I think he's not going to be a regular starter by that point, which is going to be difficult if you are holding on to him, or if you're hoping to have him as a long-term asset, because I don't think he is that. So yes, I do think he is a player we are looking to sell. His numbers have not been terrible by any stretch of the imagination. That's never been the argument. You know, there was some kind of argument to go for him in game week 25, but he was never going to be a long-term hold for us. So those of you who did go in on him last game week, I know there is a lot of you who got him in. I would be selling him pretty much straight away. If you haven't got Rashford, I'd be bringing Rashford straight back in. I'd be having a look at the Brighton midfielders, particularly Alexis Mac Allister. Gakpo to Mac Allister to Rashford, even to maybe Bruno Fernandes, all going to work really well, depending on your strategy for game week 28 as well. Maybe there's some other options for you there too, but yeah, in general, it's got to be a sell. Okay, so Martin Odegaard is one of the most sold players of the game week. He really is. I checked the numbers to kind of work out who I'm going to put in the keep category. I thought, let's try and find a player who is being sold a lot that I don't understand why they're being sold a lot. And Martin Odegaard is definitely one of those players. And I think the primary reason is because he hasn't actually got that many FPL returns recently. You can see on screen, guys, 2 assists in his last 6 games. That's probably going to be a little bit disappointing for a lot of people. But what we do have with Odegaard is the fact that he is nailed on and playing a fantastic fixture at home against Bournemouth. It really is a very, very, very tempting fixture, isn't it? It's like kind of one of those fixtures that we're targeting at the moment as well. And particularly those of you guys who do not want a free hit in game week 28. That Crystal Palace at home game, he's going to be one of the players you want. You're probably going to want to have triple Arsenal in that game week. And that's going to be Odegaard, that's going to be Saka, and maybe one other there as well. Kind of an optional third Arsenal player there. So, yeah, I would be keeping him still. I know it's been disappointing with returns recently. I mean, I've also suffered from the lack of Odegaard returns, but he has got close a couple of times. He's still taking plenty of shots, kind of mostly from outside the box, it kind of seems like at times, doesn't it? But the fact that he is so ambitious and taking these shots, creating so much for his teammates, it's only a matter of time before some of this comes off. And if you think Arsenal are going to score a couple of goals against Bournemouth, and I do think that is going to happen, I would say that Odegaard is going to be one of the players who is involved in those kind of attacking returns, whether he's creating for his teammates, whether he's, you know, shooting himself. He's definitely definitely going to be in and amongst him. So, look, I do understand the kind of desire to maybe move away from him, particularly those of you guys who are free hitting in 28 anyway, who maybe bring him back on that free hit. But that's probably going to be in game week 27, Fulham away, slightly tougher fixture than that Bournemouth game. If you want to move Odegaard to a, McAllister, Mitoma, March, something like that, I do think that works, but I would be holding on to him just for one more game week to see how this Bournemouth fixture goes, because you get the idea that Odegaard's ceiling for this game is pretty high. We've seen him get, 10, 15 point game weeks before. I think this is kind of his opportunity to get another one of them. And a rather controversial keep on Eddie Nketiah, which I have to admit, I'm not totally confident about this one myself. I definitely appreciate the fact that he is very much on the chopping board right now. He is ready to go very soon, and I would consider selling him for Tony. That's probably the only player I would consider selling Nketiah for this game week. But aside from that, I think you probably got to keep him. For what it's worth, guys, I'm not sure if he's going to play in this Everton game. I think that's maybe more of a Trossard game, but I do feel like Nketiah might come back in for this Bournemouth game, and then after that, it's going to be Gabriel Jesus time, unfortunately. So, but if you do already have Nketiah, I feel like you maybe just roll the dice on that Bournemouth fixture, because it's a fantastic fixture. We know Nketiah's numbers are fantastic. He has been getting some FPL returns in the reasonably recent history of our game that we know and love. So I think there is a good opportunity here. There's certainly a good opportunity. Whether he actually starts is another question, but if he does, we're looking at him probably being the most likely player for Arsenal to get on the goal-scoring sheet, really, aren't we? So there's a lot to like. There really is a lot to like. It just depends on him starting. Like I say, definitely a player we want to move on fairly soon. And the likes of Odegaard and Nketiah, if you want to move them out in game week 27, I totally understand that. But I think personally, unless we hear anything different, and things do change very quickly in FPL and football, but for now, I feel like I would quite like to roll the dice for him against Bournemouth. I think that's a kind of fixture that will suit him a little bit more than maybe the Leicester game and the Everton game. I know I'm talking that in. The Everton game hasn't even happened yet, but I would like to see Nketiah back for that Bournemouth game for one last hurrah before Gabriel Jesus does come in and kind of replace him for the rest of the season, most likely. But yeah, I think I would keep him. Let me know what your thoughts are on that one, guys. I'd be interested to hear what you think about Nketiah. Alright, well, this is an easy avoid. Almiron, why are so many people buying him? I'm not sure I understand. He's about to play an away game against Man City. His numbers are still pretty poor. Yes, he did score a goal before his blank in game week 25, but aside from that, there's not really been too much to like, really. He's sort of taking one shot, maybe one shot every, maybe two shots, like occasionally per game. It's not very often that he's making those attacking plays. He's not really creating very much. He's just not really been like the attacking player that we kind of saw before the World Cup. And we all know by now that Almiron is just not the same guy. So not really sure why people are buying him. I cannot really figure it out. Maybe some of you guys can fill me in on why so many people are buying him ahead of this Manchester City away fixture. Seems absolutely crazy to me, but yeah, definitely for me, got to be an avoid. In terms of midfielders right now, Newcastle is not the team we should be targeting at all. It really is Brighton time if we're looking for those midfielders, really. Maybe Manchester United as well, because they have just been so impressive recently. Not sure if there's anything but Brentford really in terms of midfielders, but certainly not Almiron for Newcastle against Manchester City. If you need a player for game week 28, maybe he comes back into the conversation on game week 28. Free hits maybe. I don't know. Don't really like this. Don't even particularly like his game week 29 double either. And I would say in general, Newcastle players are probably all avoids. Like, unless you've already got Newcastle players in your squad, in your team, I don't think now is the right time to buy Newcastle players. I've seen a lot of people going back in on those Newcastle defenders. You can make a small argument for Trippier because of his attacking threat, but generally speaking, and we say this all the time, the one fixture you don't buy players when they're about to play this fixture is Manchester City away. It is the toughest fixture a team will play throughout the whole calendar year. You just wait, even if you really want that player, you just wait until they get that fixture out of the way, and then you go in on those players. But I wouldn't even go that far with Almiron, and maybe that's more of a kind of a discussion to be had around the likes of Trippier, Botman, if you did sell them for 25. Maybe bring them in after the Man City game. And our final avoid is going to be Martinelli, who I think is going to be kind of a don't buy, don't sell type of player. I know there are a lot of people looking to switch up their Arsenal players and actually get in Martinelli. Not sure how I feel about this one. It could go very well. Of course it could, technically. But for the long term, I think Martinelli is going to be a little bit of a problem. Mostly because we now have seen that Trossard has got that ability to play left wing very effectively. He's got that ability to play as the central striker very effectively. And when Gabriel Jesus is back, it's going to add another problem for Martinelli, whereby we're probably going to see 4 players competing for 2 positions. Martinelli, Jesus, Trossard and Nketiah all competing for the left wing and striker kind of position. So it's going to be difficult to see how much game time he actually does get. And I think it could be rotated a little bit. So I'm not fully convinced by him as a long-term pick. He has done very well recently, but at the moment I still feel like Saka, Ødegaard, these are the 2 Arsenal midfielders you want to be having. Wouldn't be switching them around. If you held on to Martinelli this long, then I probably would just keep him. Like, why not? You know, it could go very well. Just like the Nketiah shout, you know, if he starts the game, we could be looking on for a really nice score here, but is it worth taking that risk? No, I would not be buying Martinelli. Equally, I would not be buying Nketiah right now. The time has gone to buy these players, I think. But if you have them already, then you perhaps keep them. But look, maybe this is a slightly controversial one. I'm not sure. Again, another player where I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. If you didn't have Martinelli right now, would you be buying him? Because for me personally, I don't think I would. Once again, I would rather move my attention to those Brighton midfielders. I think those are the midfield targets we want to be going for right now. So therefore, I'm going to put Martinelli as an avoid, but also a keep. A weird one, I know. Alright guys, just in conclusion, I probably should say that I would not recommend making any transfers until the FA Cup fixtures have concluded on Tuesday and Wednesday evening, because we're going to get so much great information from those fixtures. We're going to find out a lot about how the rest of the season is going to basically wind up. We'll find out who's going to be blanking. We're going to be finding out who's likely to get double game weeks later on in the season as well. We should get a really good picture by the end of this week, which is fantastic. So the last thing you want to be doing really is using those transfers too early. Like I say, I would not be going for any Newcastle players right now. Those Liverpool players, I think some of them are potential sells as well. Some of the players who aren't performing, maybe sells as well. And we should be moving our attention now to Brighton and Brentford players, particularly if you are planning a game week 28 free hit where you don't need to worry about the fact that Brighton and Brentford are likely to blank. But like I say, we will have that information very, very soon, and we'll be able to give much more definitive answers on these kind of things. But basically, there's a lot of good players to be buying right now. I don't think you have to make a transfer move this week. Arsenal players are going to be very good. I think captaincy is going to be crazy this week, so be interested to get some of your thoughts on that one as well. But aside from that, guys, this is the summary. This is the conclusion of the game week. Basically, wait a couple of days. Thanks so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe if you're new around here as well. It's a double upload day today, so we will be doing a wild card, like an early wild card combined with a bench boost kind of strategy guide for you guys to use, which gives you the wild card team, the week to bench boost, and some potential transfer moves you could be making. It's just like a really good strategy, and it includes free hitters, non-free hitters, whether you've got your chips or not. It should hopefully have you covered if you're feeling a early wildcard strategy for Game Week 26. So yeah, looking forward to posting that one and actually seeing how you guys feel about that, to be honest. But yeah, until then, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope to see you on the next one, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.